What up fam, Efresh here and I'm back with an all new video, and today we are back in the world of Destiny 2. If you saw my previous video, I laid out 3 loadouts that I will be taking into Onslaught with Titans. Today, it's time for the Warlocks. So I will be laying out 3 loadouts that I'm going to currently be using going into Onslaught and that I think you should give a try because I think they're really good. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit the comment section down below again and tell me how you feel about Onslaught. And also, if you didn't watch my Titan video, highly recommend that you should, especially for all my Titans out there. I think I had three really good builds I think you should check out. So go check out that previous video and let's get started with the Warlocks. All right, first up with today's build for the Warlock. My first build is going to be the Void Warlock. The thing with Void Warlock is, honestly, for me, especially since this exotic came out, it's been one of the most funnest builds to play and the most funnest subclasses to play. So I figured what better way to start off than with the Void Warlock. Just going over everything. As you see here, the exotic of choice is going to be Briar Binds. What that does is it improves my Void Buddy is what I'm going to call it. I know it's called a Void Soul, but it improves the duration, the damage, the durability of my Void Souls. And you can go back and pick them up. It's really fun to use, and I will get into the whole Void Soul thing in a second, so we can discuss what that does as well. But this is my exotic of choice. For the rest of the build, as you see here, I'm going to be using Heavy Ammo Finder with 2 Void Siphons. I will be using Firepower with Grenade Kickstart. I'll be using 3 Void Reserves. Now the thing with this one, just depending on the activity and the damage and the enemy type and what damage they emit, I may switch this off and add either a arc resistance, solar resistance, void, stasis, just kind of depending on the activity as it plays out. But for the most part, I'll be going in using 3 of the void weapon reserves, so I can get the max ammo for for my heavy basically. For my boots, I will be using void weapon surge. I will be using recuperation to when I pick up orbs I get health, and innervation when I pick up orbs I get grenade energy. And finally, for my bond, I will be using time dilation and we'll be using utility kickstart for my class ability energy. So that's the loadouts that I'm going into this. The weapon that I'm going to be using, Wither Horde, because damage over time is always an incredible thing, and I can just put Wither Horde, portals everywhere to just cause damage all over the place on the ground. You can shoot people with them, it sticks them, then they die and continue to drop a pool as well. So Wither Horde is one of my goated exotics of all time in Destiny 2, so Wither Horde is definitely number 1. Number 2, I will be using this Rago auto rifle, which is absolutely incredible. This is the god roll I wanted and I got. And as you see, it has tactical mag. I would have loved if they had accurized rounds, but beggars can't be choosers. But here, Repulsor Brace, top tier perk. I'm going to explain why in a little bit. And Onslaught, which is absolutely bonkers of a perk. Each kill you get, it increases your rate of fire. This thing melts. It is incredible. And of course, I got a Range Masterworks. I'm gonna brag about that. And then for my heavy, I got Retrofit Escapade, which I did craft with 4 times the charm and target lock. I said 4 times the charm. 4 times the charm and target lock. Incredible machine gun. If you don't have one crafted, highly recommended. I'm going to bring Doom Petitioner as well. The one I have crafted with Reconstruction and Precision Instrument. But for the most part, it will probably be using the Retrofit Escapade. Okay, now let's go into the actual aspects and fragments that I will be using. As you see here, ability, Healing Rift is a must. Burst Glide, Pocket Singularity, shout out to my, basically I'm just going to push people with my grenades. I'm just going to call it Force Push, why not? It's the almighty push, shout out to the homie Pain from Naruto. And then I'm going to be using Vortex Grenade just so I can throw it at people's feet and then they just kind of sit in it and just melt, basically. I love this grenade. In PvP, don't get me wrong, I know Scatter Grenades is a thing right now, but in PvE, I'm definitely going to choose Vortex Grenades. As for my aspects, I will be using Feed the Void, which is defeating a target with a void ability activates Devour. We all know what Devour is. Every time a Devour is activated, I get a kill. It immediately replenishes my health. Devour is awesome. But the thing I'm using this voice aspect for as well is it also it improves my Devour by restoring additional health and grenade energy. So Feed the Void is definite. And the most important aspect is the Child of Gods, which, as you see here, goes into my Briar Bonds. Now, with Child of God, let me tell you guys, all I do is pop my Rift. I send out my little buddy. He weakens people. So that's the cool thing about weaken. They take more damage from, from anywhere, from any of my weapons. So by them weakening people, this is where this auto rifle shines. And Repulsor Brace, anytime I kill a debuff target, I get an overshield. So it is just like it's like a constant rotation of, I send my little buddy out, it weakens a crowd of people, I shoot them with this auto rifle, immediately got an overshield, and it just happens over and over and over. And just the ability to keep doing that and keep getting an overshield, top tier. So that's why I chose this aspect, and that's why I'm pairing it with that auto rifle. I can't tell you how fun and just incredible it is. Now, finally, for my fragments, I will be using Echo of Harvest. Defeating a weakened target creates an orb of power and a void breach. Again, anytime I'm popping my little buddy, everybody gets weakened. I kill them. This is where this comes into play. They drop an orb and they drop a void breach, which also ties into my next aspect, Echo of Starvation. Picking up a void or orb of power grants a Devour. So not only can I get Devour from my void abilities, I can get them from just picking up orbs and void breaches. So I'm constantly just getting healed, basically. I'm also using Echo of Instability, because when you defeat targets with grenades, you get volatile rounds. Volatile rounds is, I can't express enough how much I love volatile rounds, because when you shoot things, everything just constantly explodes. Volatile rounds is incredible. And lastly, I will be using Echo of Expulsion. Void ability final blows cause targets to explode. Basically, if they're trapped in my grenade, or even when I use my super, anything that's around it or that's in that vicinity or that gets a part of that, they all explode. And it's like a chain reaction of void explosion. So all of this ties together, man, and this is exactly why I love this build so much. It's explosions, it's constant overshields, it's constant healing, and everything gets weakened. I can cause more damage. Void Warlock is absolutely incredible, and I highly recommend you give this one a shot. And the next build I wanted to talk about today, and this was the one I got excited about the most the second I saw Onslaught, and that was the Stasis Build for the Warlock, the Shadebinder. And the main reason I got excited about this exotic gauntlet right here, the Osmiomancy gloves. These gloves with this setup are perfect for ad clearance, for ad control, for everything. And reason why is because it's going to tie into our aspect. So as you see here, your cold snap grenades have an additional charge, and they recharge faster on impact and have increased stick and travel distance. The main reason we're using these is for the extra cold snap grenades, so we can have two. And I will get to that in a second as to why that's important. But before that, the rest of the build for our helmet, we will be using Heavy Ammo Finder, Solar Siphon, and Stasis Siphon to drop orbs. As you see here, we're using Callus Mini Tool and Aegir Scepter. For my gloves, I will be using Double Kickstart because we want to make sure we get our grenades back as soon as we can. For the chest piece, I will be using Triple Stasis Reserves for obvious reasons. Again, as I said before, if you wanted to change out one of these and add a resistance, depending on the activity as well. For the boots, I will be using Stasis Weapon Surge, Innervation, and Recuperation. And finally, for the bond, I will be using Bomber, Special Finish for my Aegir Scepter, and then Time Dilation. As you see for the weapons, like I said before, Aegir Scepter is a Stasis Trace Rifle that is absolutely amazing. It freezes things and it blows things up, and it's just a really good trace rifle to use. It's god tier. Final blows with this weapon generate a slowing burst around defeated targets. So for ad clearance and for crowds of people, this is absolutely amazing to use with a Stasis build. I will be going Callus Mini Tool for my submachine gun. For my secondary, you can use anything. Undeaded Kindness is great. The only difference is you're gonna have to keep getting ammo for that one because it's not like the other primaries. You can also go with an auto rifle of your choice You can go with a submachine gun. Really doesn't matter here. I'm just using Callus Mini Tool because it's one of my favorite, favorite guns in the game in general. And finally, for my heavy, I will be using my Bump in the Night rocket launcher with auto loading holster and chill clip. Yet again, I also have Cold Comfort, which I may switch to this one as well because it's got Envious Assassin and Bait and Switch especially for boss DPS. This one is really good. If I want to, I can go with my Apex Predator with Reconstruction and Bait and Switch. There's a lot of different options you can choose from in this category. For right now, I will be using the Bump in the Night. I can't forget about the machine gun as well. So any one's really good here. The main thing I wanted to use for this is just Aegir Scepter for Stasis. Now, on to the subclass itself. For my abilities, I will be using Healing Rift, Burst Glide, Penumbral Blast, which is just basically my melee with my Gandalf staff, and Cold Snap Grenades. Again, the importance of these is going to tie into the Bleak Watcher aspect. Press and hold the grenade button to convert your grenade into a stasis turret that fires slowing projectiles at nearby targets. Now here's the synergy with this. You put on Bleak Watcher so you can turn into your stasis turrets. You use Cold Snap, and the reason you use Cold Snap is because of the Osmomancy gloves, so it's going to give us 2 of those. So it gives us 2 turrets to be able to throw out each time going into this with this loadout. So that's why Cold Snap ties into Bleak Watcher, which ties into the Osmomancy gloves. The synergy makes perfect sense. So I can always at some point have a stasis turret just being able to go along with the rest of the things we're going to have, because we're going to have other turrets as well. We're going to have Superbot decoys. There's going to be a bunch of other stuff that we're going to be able to unlock while we're doing the Onslaught to help us at the same time. So why not add these gloves and these Cold Snap Grenades with Bleak Watcher to be able to throw out stasis turrets and just be able to freeze surrounding enemies. So it just perfectly makes sense. I will also be using Ice Flare Bolt, so when I shatter a frozen target, there's going to be a secret bolt that falls, that's going to go to the ground, seek other enemies, it freezes them. I kill that person or that enemy, the same thing happens, a secret bolt finds the next person. So it just keeps going, it keeps going, it keeps going, and it's just really good for ad clearance as well. Now for my fragments, I will be using Whisper of Bonds. Defeating frozen targets generate an orb of power. Everything's going to be frozen due to my Aegir Scepter into my turret, so that makes perfect sense. I will be using Whisper of Torment. You gain grenade energy each time you take damage from targets. When am I not going to be taking damage from targets? So that makes perfect sense and helps us get our grenade back a lot faster. I will be using Whisper of Chains. While you are near frozen targets or friendly stasis crystal, you take reduced damage from targets. So again, why would I not want to take reduced damage? And finally, Whisper of Fissures increases the damage and size of the burst of stasis when you destroy a stasis crystal or defeat a frozen target. So with Aegir Scepter, when you're mowing down crowds of people, of the enemies, basically they're going to freeze, and the explosion, the burst from them is going to have an increased size and an increased damage due to this fragment. So again, the synergy all makes sense. So yeah, this is the load I will be using for Stasis. Again, I was really excited about this. And the second I saw Onslaught, I was just like, Stasis turret is going to be extremely good in this game mode. So I highly recommend that you get you a really good Stasis build together with Osmomancy gloves and with Bleak Watcher to make sure you can throw out turrets left and right and just help your friends, man. So this is a perfect loadout going into Onslaught. And last but certainly not least, I'm going with a Strand build. Now I know you're probably thinking, why not a solar build, right? Here's the thing, man. Do I know solar builds are going to be beneficial in this? Of course. Of course, Wall of Radiance is going to be beneficial. My issue with Wall of Radiance is I'm just simply tired of it. So I don't like Wall of Radiance, and it's just annoying to use. It's just like when I use Wall of Radiance, I feel like I'm just like, man, I can't have fun now that I'm off that rant. Yeah, Strand is fun. It's extremely fun. It's great for ad clearance. It's powerful. It keeps you alive. It's very fun to use. So that's why I wanted a Strand build. And the exotic of choice that I made with this, Swarmers. Here's the thing. I slept on these. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I slept on Swarmers. Swarmers are really, really good. So basically, my threadling spawn from tangles and they unravel targets. The amount of tangles I use, which is going to tie into my build, which I'll show in a second, I'm just getting tangles left and right, which means I'm getting threadlings left and right, which means a lot of things are getting unraveled. So there's a lot of unraveling bullets flying everywhere. It's insanity. When you see the screen in the gameplay that I'm about to show you in a second, it's just my screen is just green the whole time. It's really fun to use. The rest of the build, I will be using heavy ammo finder, strand siphon, and arc siphon. As you see here, I'm using that, but due to the indebted kindness that I'm using, I will also be using heavy-handed and melee kickstart because I want to get my melee as soon as we can, so I can make sure to A, drop tangles, and B, I want to use my melee to give me my unraveling rounds. Now, my issue with that is I know my strength is pretty low. I do get mine back fairly quickly, even though it's so low, just due to the amount of orbs and everything that I'm dropping. That it's what's getting me to get my energy back a little bit quicker. I do want to make a build where I can get my melee up a little bit more, but as for right now, I think it's cool. It's okay. I'm getting by with where it's at, so right now I think it's fine. For my chest piece, I will be using Strand Reserves. I have Solar Reserves, but I'm going to switch that to Arc Reserves because, again, for my indebted kindness, I need to get the bullets for that because it's not like a normal sidearm. So, yeah, I will be using Strand Reserves and Arc Reserves. Again, if you want to switch something out for Arc Resistance or any kind of Void Resistance or whatever you want to use, there you go. For the boots, I will be using Strand Weapon Surge. I will also be using Absolution, and I will be using Better Already. So anytime I pick up an orb, I immediately get some health. And for Absolution, all my ability cooldowns are quicker each time I pick up an orb. Lastly, for my bond, I will be using Utility Kickstart, which is for my my class energy. My class energy is at 70. I wish my recovery was a little bit more of a stat, but with this, me using Utility Kickstart, I can get my class ability back quicker for me to be able to pop a rift, and I will be using Time Dilation to extend the timer for my armor charges. For the weapon, as you see here, I'm using Rufus's Fury. It's got Demolition, it's in Paracausal Affinity, so my damage is great. I'm getting my grenade back quicker each time. Same for Indebted Kindness, I will be using Impulse Amplifier and Volt Shot. And for Carax's Distress, I have one built for Chain Reaction and Hatchlings, so it's great for ad clearance, it's great for Hatchlings. And then with and I didn't show this one on the other ones, but I wanted to specifically point this out on my artifact. So Hatchlings, all over the place. Same with my Horde Shuttle, I will be using this artifact perk for because it's going to spawn threadlings as well to go along with my unraveling rounds. So same when I pick up an orb, I get unraveling rounds for that as well. All that ties into me just having a bunch of unraveling rounds everywhere and a bunch of threadlings all over the place. As we go into the actual build itself for my aspects and my fragments, as you see here, same thing: Healing Rift, Burst Glide, Arcane Needle, which is what I throw out to basically just sharpen the process of me using unraveling rounds, and it creates my threadlings to go along with my tangles as well. My tangles is what I'm trying to say. I also am going to be using Shackle Grenade. When you throw that down on the ground, it suspends enemies. More on that in a second. This is going to tie into my aspect. The aspect I will be using is the Wanderer. Tangles you throw attach to targets and detonate into a suspending burst. Destroying a tangle creates a suspending burst after a short delay, and threadling final blows also create tangles. The synergy with this is insane. Basically, I'm creating tangles many different ways, especially with my my melee. I pop a tangle, and number one is going to tie in with my boots. So when I pop my tangle, that basically spawns threadlings, and threadlings go and seek out enemies and they unravel them, which is also helping me get my unraveling rounds as well for my weapon. So that perfectly ties into that. And when I throw the tangle at people, not only does it spawn threadlings, it suspends them as well. So as you're seeing right now on the screen, this is an insane aspect. It's great for suspending enemies. It's great for ad control. I love it. And I will be using Mind Spun Invocation. This is going to tie into my grenade. With Mind Spun Invocation, as you see here, it basically it makes all your grenades like more potent. But specifically for the Shackle Grenade, when I consume my Shackle Grenade, it makes me activate Weaver's Trance, and when I have Weaver's Trance active, Final Blows while Weaver's Trance is active creates a suspending detonation. So in crowds of people with my Weaver's Trance activated, I can shoot the enemy, and when it's down, it's going to put out a suspending burst. Whatever's around that also is going to get suspended. So to recap, I will be suspending people with this aspect. I can suspend them with my shackle grenades. I can suspend them with my boots. I can suspend them in a lot of different ways, and that's why this loadout is so good. For the fragments, I will be using Thread of Continuity. Suspend, unravel, and sever effects applied to targets have increased duration, so while they're suspended, it lasts longer. Can't go wrong with that. Same for the unraveling rounds and sever as well. For the next one, I will be using Thread of Finality. I'm gonna be honest, I use that mostly for recovery, but when I could do a finisher, it creates a threadling, so that's also a plus. The main one I will be using is Thread of Wisdom, and this is probably the most important one. Defeating suspended targets creates an orb of power. As many targets as I'm going to be suspending, I'm going to be creating orbs left and right from killing them, so this one is very important. And last but not least, Thread of Warding. You can't have a stasis loadout without being able to pick up an orb of power and get Woven Mail. Woven Mail keeps you alive, so that's very, very important to have when it comes to this loadout. So yeah, that is my Strand loadout. Do not sleep on Swarmers like I did. I did have one as well with Osmiomancy, with Necrotic Grips, and I don't like the roll I have. As you see, this roll is absolutely terrible, so I want to get another one. And I was using that with Osteo Striga, so I was poisoning enemies and suspending them at the same time, so that's also a good one. It's just that I just slept on Swarmers until I tried it, and I fell in love with these boots. So I can't express how much they're awesome, man. They're absolutely incredible. So yeah, that is my Strand build. Again, Strand, Stasis, and Void. Those are the three builds that I'm talking about the most. You can't go wrong with Well of Radiance. I can't stress that enough. So if you want to use it, have at it. It's just that for me personally, sometimes I just want to have fun, man. I don't want to have to resort to using Well of Radiance. I just like having fun. So yeah, there's a lot of builds in that, which I showed you earlier, so you'll be able to use that as well. But these are the main three for Warlock that I'm choosing. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed those loadouts. Thank you for watching, and I'm glad that you enjoyed the Titan video as well. I hope you learned from those. Those are great builds, and these are really great builds itself. Hit that comment section down below and tell me how you feel about these builds, and let me know if you have other builds that you currently use. I didn't make one for arc damage. Maybe you have a badass arc build. Hit that comment section and let me know. With that being said, Hunters, you're up next. I'm gonna get that one out as soon as possible. I will have it out before Onslaught gets here, I promise you, so just kind of bear with me. But yeah, man, I hope y'all enjoyed the video, and with that being said, I'm out.